Thank you. Let's just go into a little bit into the message. We're in Revelation, right? Last week I closed with this picture. I want to put this picture up. Last week I closed with this picture. Jaron was able to transfer it from my phone to the thing, and now it's up. Now it's up here, right? The first picture over there. This is the one I put up, and I'm just going to go through the first part of this, and then we'll go through the rest of it next week. But you remember this picture? Yeah, there we go. And I said that the eclipse from 2017 cut across the United States from Oregon down through northern part of Florida, the southern part of Georgia, and then went out to the sea. And the next one is coming in 7 years, and it's coming the other way. And I said, put a big X on America, right? And that in a sense the church has 7 years to do something, because the big X ends up on the New Madrid fault, the largest fault in the United States, right? Or at least the potentially largest damaging fault in the United States. I want you to see something. Where are the fires? Where are we having all the fires? You see that? Where are we having all the fires? Usually the fires they're in Oregon, right? And where is the hurricanes coming? Where are the hurricanes coming? And you say, well, Pastor, you're just stretching that a little bit. No, I don't think so. I think that something's going on. I think that something's going on. And in 7 years it's coming down here. And look where the other side of it is in Mexico, where the earthquakes hit. Is this some sort of a warning to us? And you say, oh, gosh, Pastor, I don't know. But the Bible says specifically that the signs in the heavens, there would be signs in the heavens. And Jesus and God talks about it over and over and over and over again in the Bible, that there's going to be signs in the heavens. Revelation is all about signs in the heavens. We got the one coming up September 23rd. That's the big one now that everybody's pointing towards. I told you I don't necessarily think anything's going to happen. I think if anything is going to happen, it's going to be the birth of the more singular Antichrist. We've had Antichrists all along, according to what we saw as the seals were opened. And we'll go through that in more depth next week. But I wanted you to see this. I want you to think about that the fires in Oregon and then coming down here. Now I want you to look at something for a second. What I was amazed at, put the next slide up. Yeah. Okay, here's the next slide. You know what I found interesting? You can't see it on this slide because you don't see the little towns. I went through this. And almost verbatim, the churches that I preached at, the cities that I preached at, in the cities where this went, where I've preached the message, it ended up Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Does anybody know Murfreesboro, Tennessee? It's in here. It's in that. You never heard of it. I preached the message in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Right? Oregon. I preached the message in Oregon. Just see where Portland is? Just south of Portland, between Portland and Eugene, on the coast. It's not even on that map because it's cut off. And I can go through this, and it hits the look at this. Where did we preach the message in Nebraska? We haven't preached the message too many places in Nebraska. We preached the message in Nebraska in Falls City. Where does that line hit? Falls City, right? It's just incredible. And I go through this. I've preached the message in Kansas City and on down and all through these states, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky. I've called America back to a deeper, more intimate walk with the Lord, and you can just go across there, and it's just funny because it could have been anywhere in Tennessee, could have been anywhere in Missouri. But it wasn't. It's right where this line hits, almost exactly where the churches I've preached, and I would have never known that. I had no clue. No clue at all. In some states, I only preached it once in the whole state, and it ends up in that line. To me, it just began to freak me out. I had a better map than this, but you couldn't get it on here, and you could actually see all the little cities along the way. It wasn't for me, it was for the people so they'd know where to go and look for the eclipse. But to me, I'm like, oh my God, Lord. Oh my gosh. What do we do? What do we do? Casper, Wyoming, just below Cheyenne. It's just pretty wild, isn't it? Just pretty wild. But the other one's coming from the other direction. Put up the next slide. The next one in 7 years is coming from the other direction. And it's coming from here. And I haven't preached in Nova Scotia, but I preached in Maine. I've preached in Vermont. I've preached along this line in Arkansas. You were with me when I was in Arkansas, right, Lynn? This line just goes right through those same cities. Texas, I've preached it in San Antonio. I've preached it in other parts of Texas that are west of San Antonio within that scope. It's just, you can say, well, that's just statistical. But you take 50 states, and I've preached the message maybe 100 times in 50 states. What are the odds it's going to end up in those little skinny lines? See, there's something going on. Whether you think I'm going off the deep edge or not, there's something going on. God is warning America. God warned America in 2011, and He didn't have those guys blow the Twin Towers up. That warning came as a result of our ideology that we were worshiping money. The Twin Towers represented the money in America. It represented the financial system in America. God didn't put those guys in that plane and kill those 3,000 people. And then they attacked the Pentagon. Because, see, the devil knows what we hold up high, what we hold in high regard. And he's all about destroying those things that we hold high in high regard because he wants to be held in high regard. He wants to be the one that we worship. I don't know if other churches are preaching these kind of messages right now. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. The only conspiracy that I know that's going on is Satan is manipulating people because he can't do anything in this world on his own because he's in the second heaven. He's not down here. And all he can do is manipulate people through the spirit realm. So you put that X. Show the next slide, Jaron. You put that X and you put that X together, and it ends up right here, in the middle. No, I don't want to say the middle of the United States, but not the middle. Really, it's over the New Madrid Fault. It's over the New Madrid Fault. Look at the next slide. You'll see. You can't read that well enough, but right there's the New Madrid Fault. That's right where the X falls. And what's interesting is look at the New Madrid Fault. The X falls this way, right through there, and the X falls this way, right through there. The two most elongated places of the Madrid Fault. How does the New Madrid Fault, we all are concerned about the San Andreas Fault. How does the New Madrid Fault compare to the San Andreas Fault? Show the next slide, Jaron. There you go. I showed this to Jaron's father last night, and I said, look at that. We all talk about the San Andreas Fault, and our son lives in Los Angeles, so we're very concerned about the San Andreas Fault. Look at that. But look at how that compares to the San Andreas Fault that we're all concerned about. Now, praise God, it doesn't go far into Nebraska. They were trying to show something else here, but it does make a circle, but the red part doesn't get into Nebraska, only some yellow. We'll get shaken up, but we won't get the devastation that they'll get. Where are the states we're fighting right now? Where are the states that the enemy's trying to bring division into the United States? Yeah. All those states in the Nudibrid that are affected by the Nudibrid Fault. And the other side, not so. Now I'm going to show you some prophecies that were spoken about the United States before anybody was aware of this stuff. And then we'll end with communion and maybe make a deeper, intimate relationship with Jesus with regards to what we're going to do with our lives individually. See, I'm in an awkward place. See, I'm in the part of my life. It's amazing. See, I'm up here. I'm Jim Nielsen at 30 years old when I'm standing up here. And then we get the pictures from my son's wedding yesterday. They emailed us the pictures, the proofs, so that you can decide which ones you want at $35 a pop. But there's 1,087 pictures. Can you do the math? I don't want all the pictures. But yeah, I can't afford all the pictures. But we're supposed to pick some. You know what I was amazed at? I didn't see Jim Nielsen at 30-some years old. I saw Jim Nielsen as you see him. I saw this old guy. I said, oh my gosh, look how old I am. Look how old I am. Oh yeah, I had on a tuxedo, so I look a little bit nicer and all that, but a bow tie. But I saw this old guy. And I thought to myself, my time's running out. What am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? I want it to be even more. I mean, I could look backwards and say, oh, how many people can say they went to every state in the United States and called the church back to a deeper measure? How many people saw the thousands of people come to the altars across the United States? I could go into all that. But you know what? Paul said, I count that as all done. I count that as all done. Other than the meaning it has maybe of the cities and the states that I preached in now, in and up in those two X's, I don't know. Maybe there's some significance there, but what am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing this afternoon? What am I doing with my life for Jesus Christ? What significant things are left? I don't have much time. You guys get your whole lives before you. We were visiting with these guys earlier in the week, and they were talking about campgrounds and all that stuff, and I thought, they want to have a Christian campground and someday, and they have plans when he retires and from the Army or the Air Force, and he's been in it for 10 years. You get another 10 years. None of us know how much time we have, but what are we doing with what we've got? Going to watch another Nebraska football game, have another hot dog or brat or something like that. What are we doing? Another beer and another brat and watch the game? And I'm not being critical. I know that some people would pick this up and say, gosh, you're being very critical. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm trying to say, what are we doing with our lives? And I could set up some program and say, oh, let's all get together, church, and we'll do this with our lives. And I can write a book that, like make your life more relevant to Christ. Or so, I could do all that kind of stuff. But that's force-feeding Christians, and that's what the church has been doing for 2,000 years. And it's supposed to be about an intimate relationship with God, your Savior. It's supposed to be, I want to be with Him. I want to be in His Word. I don't want to watch that game. I want to study His Word. I don't want to watch the game. I want to watch something, so I'll watch the World Wide Web, and I'll watch somebody at least preaching about what's going on in the world. I want to take time to pray for those people in Florida. I want to take time to pray for those people in those islands where their whole lives are devastated. They got nothing. And you know what? They didn't have much to begin with. They didn't have much to begin with. When we were in South America, we were building a Bible college down there in a church and a Bible college. I mean, it was a nice building. It was a nice building. But you know what, if you dropped a concrete block, I mean, I'm not talking about dropping it from the second or third story where we were working. I'm talking about dropping it from this high. Their concrete blocks just, it was like graham crackers. It just, and they're they're on a volcano in the middle of an earthquake place. I mean, and it's just rubble. It's almost rubble before you finish building it. They couldn't have formed certain things in the formula of cement. There were certain things that were too expensive. They couldn't afford it. So they're building it. They were putting these crumbly blocks together with this cement that wasn't going to hold it very well anyhow. And I'm talking about a 2 or 3 story Bible college. I'm not talking about somebody's little hut. And because they had just experienced an earthquake and a volcano not many years before we were there was 250,000 people that lived in houses built out of pallets, you know, wooden pallets that we throw away, wooden pallets and cardboard. And it rained every day at 4:30. Every day it rained at 4:30, and they had to go try and scavenge new cardboard to put on their roofs. Some of them, the really wealthy ones in that 250,000 had those ribbed roofs like we have on this church, you know, sheet metal roofs. But they were still houses built out of pallets and cardboard. 250,000 people in a city of, I don't know, several million. There's a whole hill that was like that. We went up and visited people up there. Some of the guys we laid blocks with that came and helped us, they got $2 a day. They came and helped us lay blocks. They invited us to their home. And they had cardboard houses that weren't as big as that center pew area. 10 by 10. And their whole life was in there. Streets were just mud. They were on hills. And they were on hills because they had earthquakes and stuff. Nobody wanted to build any permanent buildings on those hills. You know, I don't know what these people lost on those islands, but they lost everything. Well, what are we doing with our lives? You know, it's just running out. And I'll talk about it next week. I'll get into Revelation where we are in 6, and it's a huge jump. You know, we went through the other 5 seals, and it was things that just are ongoing. You know, Antichrist coming, wars and rumors of wars, weather conditions, just things, famine, pestilence, things that have gone on the earth for the last 2,000 years. Plus. But 6 is a whole nother thing. It's a game changer. That's why I called the sermon the game changer. Game changer. So, I want to show you a video of the reality of this. Go down to the video at the end. I want you to see this video. Because I want you to, this lady was in, let me set it up a little bit. She's a Muslim. Now she's a born-again Christian, but she was raised in a Muslim environment and all the persecution associated with Muslim. And now she's a genius, she's a famous speaker and all that kind of stuff. And she put things into perspective. They were having a forum at the Heritage Foundation. Some of you have heard of the Heritage Foundation, but it's kind of it's out of Heritage College. It's a very conservative Christian, well, it's not Christian, but a very conservative college. And she's been on Fox News several times and stuff. But she put this thing into perspective. And we need to think about this. She doesn't talk about Christ. She doesn't talk about being born again and that sort of thing, but she escaped that life that she was destined to live. Fortunately, she escaped that life and became educated and changed person. But I want you to watch this, and then I want you to think about a couple things. I'm going to show you a couple things after the video. I'm going to mention really one thing after the video, but go ahead and turn that video on. What? What? Oh, it's at the very end. Oh. Gosh, maybe I didn't transfer it onto the flash drive. It's not there on the flash drive. Oh, great. Well, I guess we're not going to watch the video till next week. It's on my laptop. I thought I transferred it to the... I guess we can't watch it. Must not be, supposedly be. Huh. You can't, if I get it on my phone, can you get it on there? No, that's probably not time. That's all right. Anyhow, we'll watch it next week. It probably is more meaningful to the message than this. I just wanted you to see where we are. The point I was going to make is, and this isn't the point that's being made in the video, they're meeting about Benghazi. And she's talking about, and a girl with her veil comes on. And it was open to the students, and she comes on and says, how come Islam's always been portrayed as a negative thing? We're a positive people. You know, this is only a small percentage of what, you know. And she goes on to rebuke the lady, the girl that stood up. She said, I'm studying to be a lawyer, so she was trying to let us know she was pretty smart, the girl in the audience. And she was the only Muslim in the audience. And they were talking about Benghazi and why hasn't the government done something to figure out what's going on, what's happened, why Clinton didn't do something about what she should have done. And so she goes on and just rips her. I mean, she says, you know, that the militant terrorists, I'll give you a couple facts, and then we'll watch it next week. But the militant terrorists, she says there's, I don't know, 8 billion, whatever the number is, can't be 8 billion, whatever the huge number of Muslims there are in the world, and only a small percentage are terrorists. And she said, and the lady responded, her name is, I'm a little flustered because I didn't save that video. It's a good thing that we're going to do this next week. Her name is Bridget Gabriel. Bridget, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but she said that the militant terrorists are someplace between 15 and 25,000% of the worldwide Muslims. She says that sounds like a small number until you realize it's more people than they live in the United States. There's more terrorists than in the world, more Muslim terrorists that we're trying to beat. There's more of them than there are us combined with kids and everything. What are we, about 3.5 million, 350 million? And they're over that number. 25% of the Muslims is over that number. But here's the interesting thing I picked out of the video that is significant, and I'll mention it next week when I show the video, is that she said in 2001, 19 Muslims killed 3,000 Americans, destroyed those 2 buildings, ran a plane into the Pentagon. 19 of them. That's the devastation they did. And she said, and at that time there was 2.2 million Muslims in the United States. 2.2 million Muslims in the United States. And later in the thing, she says something about the Muslims in the United States today. 8.1 million Muslims in the United States today. Do you see what's happened since 2001? We went from 2.2 million to 8.1 million. We've quadrupled the number of Muslims, and I'm not anti-Muslim other than the fact that the terrorists, because they're no different than any other false religion. They're worshiping something other than God. They're worshiping their works. But do you see what's happened? The Muslim church in the United States has grown 4 times, quadrupled, while the Church of Jesus Christ in the United States has shrunk Yeah, we're growing around the world, but we've actually shrunk in the United States. There's something wrong with this picture. And what's wrong with the picture from my perspective is that the church has not been the church. The church has been something else. The church has been food, fun, and fellowship. The church has been a career for pastors and other people, administrative people in the churches. The church has not been the church. And, you know, and not much is expected of you. Not much is expected of the church. God just asks you to love him with all your heart, with all your mind, and all your strength, and your neighbor as yourself. We just don't have time for that. And the question is, do you want to get to a place, analyze where you are. And we're going to close now, but analyze where you are. Because see, what you're doing is you're giving this nation to your children. George Washington said, I don't want to give my nation to my children under the heavy hand of King George. I don't want to give America to my children like that. And praise God. And he was able to find other people that said, I don't want to give. And they began praying. And then they began fighting. And I don't expect us to get militant. That's not what it's about, because we don't fight against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers in high places. What are we giving our kids? How serious are we? Somebody said if Obama put us in the toilet, if Hillary got elected, she was going to flush it. You know, we have done something. We've done something wrong, church. We've done something wrong. And it can only begin with each one of us. And it comes about by saying, you know, I'm going to make a decision to love God with all my heart, with all my mind, and all my strength, and care enough about my neighbors that I don't want them to go to hell. That's what it's about. That's... I don't know how we got here from where we started this morning. I don't know how we got here, and I apologize if it's been too heavy, but somewhere along the line, with all the stuff that's happening, all the things that are happening in our country and in our world today, you know, these are the end times. It can't be any clearer. These are the end times. And if we keep doing church like we're doing church and don't wake up, and somebody can say, well, Pastor, what are you doing? You know, all these churches are, the ones that are growing are Food, Fun, and Fellowship. Those are the churches that are growing. But it says in the last days, go find yourself somebody to tickle your ears. Go find somebody to tickle your ears. So we're going to take communion. And Tom, since you're kind of free, you want to help me?